Welcome back to another episode of the Driver Excuses podcast, the place where you will find the big book of driver excuses coming from our own experiences. You will hear everything there is to know about motorsport news in general around the world of motorsport. This week, there's been a lot going on. We are two rallycross drivers, Timmy Hansen and Kevin Hansen. Unless you didn't, for some reason, you clicked on this and you didn't know us already, and it's the first episode you listened to. There was Höljes, Euro RX in Höljes, the first time that Hansen Motorsport is not at this event for, 30 years or something like that?
No. Oh, we weren't there in 2020 either, because it was only European Championship when we were doing something with the
True.
electric cars. Or no, 2022. So actually, it's the second time in a while. But it's the magic weekend. It was very typical Höljes. Cold, rain, sunshine, and a big party. But mainly a lot of action on track. And I think apparently the biggest crowd since the electric cars were introduced. So that's interesting,
great.
obviously.
That's great news for them that the crowd's coming back, even though the weather wasn't good. We know that they're a bit weather dependent there. People go out there for a holiday to go out and have a good time with their friends, drink adult beverages all night, and watch some racing.
Oh, I mean, it's a highlight of the year for many people, and I think apparently it was really well organized. So that's very good to hear. I think a lot of people listening here probably have been there during the weekend. For people watching YouTube, Kenneth Hansen just walked in the background, sneaking around. He was there working on Casper Jansen's car. I think there's a few big things that you can take away from the Höljes weekend.
Let me say the top three things: carnage, chaos, and absolute mayhem.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. I think it was the most up and down weekend we've seen in a long time, mainly because it was, weather back and forth. But in the end of the day, if you win a qualifying, you get 50 points. And normally, if you want to be top qualifying, you need to stay in that top 3, 4, maybe drop down to 5th in one of the qualifying heats. The overnight leader, Patrick O'Donovan, had his best result in one of the qualies. That was 5th.
Yeah.
And he was more down in like 9th, 12th. But when we came to the TQ 146 points. I think that must be an all-time record low for a top qualifier in a rallycross race. When you have
that also means that the whole field was very, very tight. So everybody was sharing these big points. Like only Johan managed to get 250 pointers, but he also got black flagged in one of the sessions. We'll talk more about that in a second. But I think also a record that was broken was the most on-track overtakes to still be overnight leader of all time. Patrick had like 5 on-track overtakes in the first 3 qualies. He overtook everybody everywhere. And
it's also, he wasn't
still
getting some big points. He was racing the slower cars, but then they've been struggling with the launches. So he gets out back, but he's, obviously his car is really good, and obviously Patrick's European champion in the past. So we know he can race, we know he can drive, and he's definitely one that is not afraid to stick his nose out and start, taking a bit of contact. So I think that was a really impressive, let's say, race to recover. But the results and maybe that type of performance and speed maybe wasn't quite what a typical TQ should be. But that was Höljes this year. And coming back to that, I think we need to come back to Johan's black flag. Obviously, it's rare to see a black flag from, let's say, the top runners. It's rare that, I think in the last 6 years I've had one. I think he the same. It's been about 6, 8 years since he had one. It takes a long time to normally for someone to get it. Now he got it. I think from my experience, from people who have seen it, if you haven't seen it, here it is. I think it's a bit harsh to give a black flag for this. So I was told after the weekend, there was only 2 options of penalty. It was a warning or a black flag.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the black flag is too hard because I don't think he Like he can't move left. He's just saved a slide. Casper comes quite aggressively into the left. Johan is obviously still there.
Yeah.
And he just goes on the brakes. And obviously the outcome is really, really, bad for
Let
Backerud, which is the really unfortunate thing because he really didn't get spun around there. But I think for me, the black flag is almost too hard.
I also
Should
think
be
it's
like a 30-second penalty or something.
for the touch he gives here. So now it's in slow motion. You see, at this point, Johan is a bit wide. Casper has done the undercut on Johan. And I believe here that Johan was thinking that Casper will go to the Joker lap because Casper has like the clear line to go that way. But he obviously chooses not to. You see here, Casper decides to turn in
Yeah.
and
Johan's
Johan
still on the throttle,
still
yeah.
commits to the inside.
But if
And
you
this is
think,
the touch. This is the touch here that he gets the penalty for. Boom, this one.
yeah,
And it's way too small of a touch to give a black flag for. But on the other hand, saying that there was only warning and black flag available for the
yeah,
stewards. On the other hand, Casper, complete disaster, Backerud, complete disaster. So the ones who got affected by the thing that Johan did wrong was caught out so badly. Maybe they
yeah.
took that into account, the stewards. I don't think the touch is bad enough to be a black
No,
flag.
I agree. And
But you
it's
see,
also like, but
Casper
also
ends
if
up
you imagine your
going
own
into.
position, like if you were there and you see when Johan starts braking, how big the gap is on the
Mm,
inside of Casper. Just here, if you play it,
I
like,
I heard a bit of inside information that the reason why the point that made the stewards take this harsh of a decision was that Johan was still on throttle for a while after Casper decides to go normal lap. So you see there Casper commits and there Johan goes on the
yeah,
brake. So he
yeah,
still tries to commit for passing Casper into
yeah.
this corner a
I
little
think,
bit too long.
in the end of the day, maybe it's just also there's a regulation where if you're on the inside and you're past the rear center of the wheel with your front axle, the rear axle, front axle. If you're ahead, then you have the right. It's difficult to see there where the actual positioning is, but it's really on the borderline.
Hmm.
I
I
mean,
think that
maybe
touch.
yes. It maybe like it's really hard with the black flag.
Hmm.
But like you say, he does really when you play it in slow mo, which obviously the stewards have done. You can see that he really Casper breaks early and goes in. I understand, John, that he wants to go for that gap because it's quite a big gap, but obviously it shuts quite quickly with that type of corner. Like the apex really comes out at you. It's like a double apex in that turn too. And it's kind
Yeah.
of like it's small things that like if it was slight differences in a few things, it would just have been a side to side contact and quite epic racing. But it just turns out to be hit half speed into backward spin. Um, and in the end of the like backward got fully taken out. Casper did too with puncture, I think, and he destroyed 2 races with that move of
Hmm.
pushing in. So in that way, he got a black flag. And you
I
don't see
think
that
if
often.
if he would have touched Casper and Casper would have only gone wide and come back in front of Johan, it wouldn't even have been a penalty at all.
Yeah.
But because of the whole nature of the first corner and because Casper then goes on to hit Backerud, trying to save the moment, like then that's what leads it into a black flag. It's really, one of the most harsh black flags that I have seen, I think. But yeah.
But I've had another time where myself back in Canada against Anton Markler, I came from the Joker lap. We were side by side, bit of contact at the apex. I was, more than my front wheel in his door, and he like slowly drifted out and hit the wall and spun.
Mm,
And I also got a black flag because the consequence of the even if the contact was tiny, I got a black flag. And my thing was literally almost fully side by side, and he's drifted slowly into the wall and then spun.
yeah.
Here is like really like 2 people get called out, and I had a black flag back then. I guess this also then should be a black flag in a way. It's
Yeah.
really they do judge a lot on the outcome, not actually the contact itself in rallycross, and I think that's something to keep in mind for fans and ourselves. that.
I'm missing this transparency though from the stewards, like in VHR in football. Then you get to see the replays sometimes from inside the stewards room, and gives you a much better understanding of what pictures did they look at and why was this
And
decision
also
taken.
accountability, right? Like it's all the reviews from the VAR is shown, and the discussion is shown. Also, it's broadcasted afterwards. I just think when you sit in the room, very protected, and you don't have to have any accountability to the public, and just put out a piece of paper and say you got this penalty. I would love to see the decision taking and the active reviews, put out there a bit more by the FA. I think that would be really cool for both understanding the steward's skills and the pieces of information they work with to take the decisions, and also show like what articles they take into consideration when doing a decision, and also just for accountability too, because then you can't, I'm back in the days, we've had stewards who clearly had favoritism, um,
Yeah,
which we're both
now,
experienced. So
yeah,
it's that's also what you get. You can do that if you're protected behind in a room where nobody's going to ask you why did you do that or this. But I think when you go it publicly, there's a lot more general opinions. So you have to take that accountability, which I think is good for fairness, right? If a country was run behind closed doors and there was never election or any information shared, it's a not very, um I don't think that's very, modern thing to do. It's a bit weird.
yeah,
I don't know
and
what to say. I
but
don't want to say
I
wrong
think
words.
the stewards don't want to have too much criticism, that there are too much opinions going on about the decisions they took and so on. But when you actually, there is more sense to it than the general public gets to understand, because they
Yeah.
have to read this text in a book, go to these different articles, watch the replays in slow-mo back and forth, and it's not all common sense. When you're in front of the TV, you look at it as common sense, like that's a penalty and that's not. But there is no line
There's
in
regu-
the code that
there's
says common sense, you
no,
know?
and there's regulation for the contact, what's allowed and not allowed. There's
Yeah.
full rule book of what needs to be applied in these situations. And um, race director, guidelines as well. He decides what's allowed and not allowed. So
I did
it's a lot
hear
of
this
things.
on the rumor way, that the reason behind the black flag, the final touch, was that Johan wasn't immediately on the brake when Casper committed to the normal line, that he stayed on throttle a fraction longer and then braked. That was the decision point of getting the black flag. So it would have been interesting to hear that directly from the stewards. Now, obviously, it's through the paddock and
Yeah.
into this podcast where you get to hear all of the behind the scenes information, if we can give it to you.
I mean, when me and Johan had that contact in Hungary, uh, he was the same. They judged on a small 10% throttle tap that I had, just after, because there was a little gap between me and him.
Yeah.
After I released, when he was squeezing me into the wall, so I released, and there was a little too much gap, so I used little throttle to come close. But obviously with the electric
You
car
ended
compared
up
to his
being
petrol car,
absolutely buried inside the door and
yeah,
into the
and
wall
I
now.
closed the gap, but then obviously he has much lighter car, so it's much more efficient to stop than I collected him. But they saw that as, if I wouldn't have done that tiny tap of the throttle, it would have been, his fault because he squeezed me and then went off. Well, I'm sure we would have gone off anyway, even with that throttle, because he squeezed me in there, and so let's not go back to that. I used another clip. I got black flag for that. I just realized. So I'm getting more black flags, but I'd like to, put my nose out there.
It's rallycross at the end of the day, and if we had no black flags, would it still be rallycross? I don't think so.
No,
We need
and
to get our elbows out.
for sure, and you do not squeeze me, then you end up in trouble, which he knows. So there you go. Another highlight I just want to point out from the Höljes weekend, obviously KMS 1-2, very well recovered after a very difficult weekend. Their starts are getting better. But the championship leader coming into the weekend, Andreas Backward, looked to be on good pace all the run. But then all of a sudden in the semi-final just kind of lost that pure speed, and Casper and Ole Christian just overtook him on 1 lap pace. I found that very interesting. Is that, championship leader against, obviously Andreas and Johan have a lot of history. We know Andreas is desperate to beat him in any way he can, and then every time they get closer, there's always contact. Is the pressure getting to a stage now in the championship halfway through is starting to affect Backroad, or did we only just see maybe the setup not quite suiting the track condition at that time? Because it didn't quite look like he was quite as on it as we normally see Andreas in that semi-final and final.
Yeah, Backroad not having the weekend that he was hoping for at the end. I think he lost a lot of pace towards. He was super fast throughout qualifying, and something must have happened through the late stages of finals, where in the semi and final he was lacking a bit of pace. In the semi-final, he took the start, he was leading, but he wasn't able to find the grip or find the right flow to stay ahead. So it was actually Casper Janssen from third with an early joker strategy who was able to outpace Andreas and get the win in their semi-final.
From sixth on the grid.
From sixth on the grid, absolutely legendary drive.
You have done that once in the semi, from sixth in the semi to win the semi, and then you were leading the final, and I don't know what happened. In none of it didn't win the race.
Backroad was in 2016, I think, and I was leading the final, but Backroad beat me on pace that time.
Ah. So there is he has the pace if he wants to. Just not.
He has
just
a
not
pace.
this weekend
just
in the end.
10 years too early.
Yeah, 10 years too early.
we're just too old.
Shame.
But Andreas is good. There is a lot going on with these tires and with the different grip conditions. The Hoosier tire this year seems to be very fragile in how it behaves, and one slide can cause you to lose a lot of grip. Maybe the wrong setup for that condition at the end. He was fast. He knows the track, but I think there was something in the package, like tire temperatures being out the window, setup being not the right something. But yeah, he wasn't performing at what we expect from Andreas at the end there. It's a shame from him. He lost the championship lead. Johan Kristoffersson, though, the GOAT, comes back from the black flag, comes back from a Q4 session, which rained away, that he got the terrible result because rain hit for the last races, and still climbs his way through, gets pole in the final.
Thanks to that new quarterfinal system, right? If it would have been the semifinal system, he would have started on the outside second row, much harder to do creativity from there. But with the quarterfinal, obviously he gets a front row start, wins that, means the front row start in the semi. That's the difference, right? The quarterfinal enabling to start front row semi instead of, if it was no quarters, he would have started second outside row.
It's a bit more high risk, high reward, like we saw from Patrick O'Donovan and Johnny Turpainen being knocked out. I think Turpainen was knocked out in the quarters, right?
I think so.
It was very tricky conditions. You and I know very well how hard that track is when it gets damp, how unforgiving it is. And with this format of quarterfinals, where that quarterfinal is so costly, if you have a mistake there, you get knocked out.
You get classified as 24th,
Yeah.
Instead of
such bad points.
Top 12. It's really rough, yeah.
It's like high risk, high reward kind of thing, because also if you win it, you get to start front row semi, which massively increases your chances to get a good result in the semi, to start ahead in front in the final. But yeah, Johan was, at the end of the day, just faster than everyone else. They have their stars figured out now, which was not the best for the racing aspect, but we still got so much action from this event. And it was actually the first time this year that I felt like I was missing out. Like I wanted to be there. That I've not really been feeling that for the first two races. Like I wish that I was part on the grid there. But in Höljes now, Man, it would have been good to dive into that mess. I would have really enjoyed it.
It would have been fun. And next up is a brand new track. Actually, a brand new track because they've changed the layout. It's Mondello Park in Ireland. It's going to be really cool to see the European Championship go there and see how the championship battle continues before we go to Loyac and Portugal to finish off the season ahead of the World Cup in Indonesia and Jakarta in December. So plenty of rallycross action still to come. There's also a lot of other stuff happening, of course, as everyone's seen. Höljes always crashes with the British Grand Prix. So I wasn't on the Höljes race this year. I was able to go to the British Grand Prix. And that was, I can tell you, Timmy, I'm obviously being with you in the Formula BMW paddock, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago.
2009, 2010. I
Yeah,
did
so
Formula BMW.
16 years ago.
Support category to Formula One back then.
We were 16 years ago at Silverstone. Obviously, then it just felt like Formula One was just like the quickest racing series you could watch at Silverstone. Now it's a global spectacle. I've never seen. It's literally the ultimate. Like if you picture the perfect motorsport event, it's literally what it is. The beautiful activations, packed with people, efficient circuit to get in and out. Celebrities just pouring out every corner. Great weather. And the racing was incredible. And I think, this first time I've seen since 2016 the cars on track as well, because it was just not been for such a long time. So quick. It's incredible the engineering when you see these through. We're at the BRDC, British Racing Driver Club, with my future brother-in-laws, and just to see how it sticks through those two corners in Brooklands. Absolutely incredible to see the engineering and the speed. It really was like so cool. But in the end of the day, it's more easy to follow the sport on TV. That's also why it's so global. But there is a spectacle actually to see on track, which I didn't expect as a motorsport fan to think. But I would say more impressive than I thought. Doesn't quite beat the live experience of NASCAR, I must admit. NASCAR does take the prize.
That's cool. Yeah. Wow. What a comparison.
I know, right? But that is the sound and the energy and the crowd at NASCAR races is so cool. But Formula One obviously is the ultimate, like, full experience with everything going on around. So that was a great weekend, really. Cool to see everything there.
How many
and go back
people
to-
came out to the race?
It was a F1 record, 564,000 people over the weekend. I think it's also because
500,000 people.
also because I think the Thursday is a full event now, of concerts and stuff like that.
But okay,
it's
so
cool too.
and we know that the way they count spectators is day by day. So if you go for all 4 days, you
You're
count
four
as
people.
four spectators. But
Yeah.
still, even if it's 100,000, it must have been 200,000 on race day.
Yeah.
200,000 people.
Well, I think maybe 150, right? Because it's 4 days, so.
But they don't all
150.
come for all 4 days. I think a few come for all 4 days, but it must
I just
peak
can't
during
believe
race
it.
day.
I can't imagine it's 200,000 people fit around the fucking venue. But it must be. I don't know. It is incredible. I mean, I loved it. And speaking of NASCAR, US Racing Series, I see my bridges are getting there.
Yeah.
Silly season in IndyCar. Our friend Felix Rosenquist has just announced he's going to back to Arrow McLaren, as McLaren are doing a massive push to win their first Indy 500 in ages. Re-signed Felix. They've signed the 24 season long era driver of Chip Ganassi, Scott Dixon, to come over to them as well. And obviously got Ryan Hunter coming back for the 500. Incredible moves, very bold. Big silly season market in IndyCar.
Yeah, that's gonna kick off a lot of movement in the IndyCar field. Drivers moving seats, and the team now needs drivers, and the market is open right now. So that's very cool.
That Chip Ganassi seat, I've heard Marcus Ericsson is on the move as well. I would think he should be maybe going back to Chip Ganassi. I think he enjoyed it more there, and I heard this might be a free agent again. So let's see if he leaves Andretti. But who knows? Let's keep an
Exciting
eye on
times.
what's going on there.
My weekend was, if your weekend was super glamorous, my weekend was the opposite. So when first time I'm not in Höljes also in a long time, but what did I do? I spent the weekend digging out my concrete floor in my garage. And why you wonder? Because a badger, digging, little animal like a cat-sized animal that digs, dug his house under my garage, and the whole floor collapsed.
Timmy versus the Badger.
Yeah. So I found like 2 cubic meters of dirt behind my garage. 2 cubic meters, there's a lot of dirt. Like, where did that come from? Turns out, like, then the floor collapsed, like it was under there. So I was spending my weekend now full of dust with one of these machines that, knock the concrete to pieces, and carrying stones, completely sweaty because it was warm in Sweden, dusty. It's the least glamorous experience that you can have, probably.
It does sound a bit like you maybe didn't smash the lottery this weekend of what to do. You were chasing a badger, and other people were racing in Höljes.
But there is a sense of accomplishment of like finishing a job also. So the floor is cleaned out now. The floor is out, and now I need to make a new floor with new concrete and stuff. So that's the next step. But the house was actually, it's maybe not motorsport news this, but the Badger's house under there, because I dug it all out, was quite impressive. He built 6 rooms, 2 bedrooms with grass in it, and 1 toilet.
Incredible.
The toilet was not fun to find, I tell you that. It was very smelly, and it was like water.
Yeah, I think you need to go back to racing. Clearly, you can't be doing that. But go racing, make a bit more cash, get someone to do that for you, so you don't have to smell that. Something like that.
No, but I like getting my hands dirty sometimes. I like when it
with
gets
badger
done.
shit.
I didn't touch the shit is still there. I don't know how to move that. But next week is gonna be the complete opposite for myself. I'm going to Monaco to race.
Finally,
so
thank God you don't in the badger house anymore.
I'm gonna show you when you come to my house. You're in Sweden now in your apartment, so
what is the rumors kicking about in E1? I hear there's a bit of movements.
Yeah, there is some vague rumors in E1 about an 11th team joining. I don't know anything about this.
Do we know
there
celebrity?
is little talks around the paddock. I don't know the celebrity. I don't know the team name.
Do you know who will run it? Is it the series who will run it? Is there a...
I know who will be team principal potentially, but it's all rumors, so it's quite exciting.
Who we got then?
Who? No, I can't. I don't know if I get in trouble if I say stuff because it's not announced.
Don't get in trouble. Everything leaks everywhere in the world.
Yeah. So, but the 2 drivers also, I have no clue who they are. There are not many people with an E1 super license, and the process to get the super license is quite complicated. You have to go
Marit will be back on track.
Maybe Marit, maybe Stefan and Eva, who have been reserve drivers for a while. There are a few candidates, but not too many drivers actually possible to just bring into the seat, because you have to go through this license process. So that's exciting. But Monaco will be nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Finally, you can do that after missing out the first 2 years. I would have been there. I have to go. I have to go to an event on the Thursday and Friday next week.
Cool.
Which is good. And then I'm going straight to a wedding in south of France. So we would only be 3 hours apart. So I will be closer. Second closest I've ever been to an E1 race. Obviously, I was in Doha. We'll be there supporting. So we'll support from a distance.
Thanks a lot.
I look forward to that.
But first, on the next episode, we're gonna recap you on our brotherly holiday, going on out to the campers together with mom and dad.
Our first ever, I've gathered, family holiday with all of you, your wife, me, my fiance, and mom and dad, and all our kids. It's the first time
Yeah, but
obviously mine has
your
only been
kid is
alive for
only
4
4
months,
months.
but you know,
Yeah.
even before she was here, let's say with your kids, never. It's the first time we're doing it, so let's see if we come, you know, leave the holiday still as a united family, or if we blow up.
Oh, we're
But it's
gonna
gonna be nice to go to the West Coast.
The West Coast won't know what hit them. It's gonna be crazy out there in the
Yeah,
camper holiday
Tim
of
is
the Hansen
bringing his
family.
new pet badger.
Yeah, I'm bringing the badger. This is my enemy, guys. I hate
He's
this
coming
guy.
along.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to have a few, I'm sure, driver excuses of driving a camper next week. If you enjoyed the episode, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, don't do anything.
No, give us a
And we'll
thumbs
catch you
down.
next week.
I don't know. Yeah. Thank you for listening, though. If you made it this far, really appreciate you, and we'll catch you next week.